Good morning. I am feeling motivated today. I woke up early, not of my own volition, but because of a baby, and was checking my emails this morning and had some really awesome ones coming through about our Birth Warrior project and also the indiebirth workshop that we make available to the people in the Birth Warrior project, as well as our midwifery school students and our Wise Woman Circle members, so that they can teach our workshop to their communities as well. And it got me feeling really pumped up, and I'm about to head into the gym at 7 o'clock here on this 30-degree morning in Duluth, Minnesota. And on the way, I was listening to a song that I haven't heard in a long time, but I really love, by Brett Dennen. It's called Darlin Do Not Fear. And the lyrics are, "Darlin, do not fear what you don't really know." And it was prompting me to think more about our theme of the week here at indiebirth, which has been debunking myths about independent midwives, license-free midwives, unlicensed midwives, whatever you want to call us, which was prompted by people saying really silly things here locally about me. They've been said about all of us, though, at some time or another, many times, probably for many lifetimes. So this is not new stuff. But what is new is just this feeling of really wanting to get really, more strategic and more public about taking on some of these ridiculous myths, and not from a place of anger, but from a place of love. So what came to me this morning that I wanted to share with you just real quickly was this phrase that feels so fitting: don't fear what you don't know. And I would just encourage all of us, this isn't necessarily just about unlicensed midwives, but as birth workers in general, I would really love if we could all stop acting like we know a lot about how each other practices, if that makes sense. So, even if you've been to one birth with somebody, that doesn't necessarily reflect the way that they are at all births. They might be responding to their client in a way that is really appropriate for that client that maybe you didn't know about. I'm thinking of some of the births that I went to, either at birth centers or with other midwives who practice differently than me, which all of us practice differently. Marion practices differently than me. There is no one who does it exactly the same way, because we're all unique humans. But until you have a larger context, maybe you've been to 5 births with someone or 10 births with someone, you probably don't actually have a good sense of their, the way that they are in a more broad sense. So, and even more, faulty would be to think that we can know how somebody is at a birth, based on third-hand information. So I hear things in my community about births people have been to with other midwives, and just little snippets here and there, and I have to remind myself even that I don't know what it actually is like for them on the broader scale of going to, usually multiple births a month, or at least, a dozen a year or more. If I just hear one little thing that I disagree with, I have to remind myself to not latch on to that and think that they do that at every birth, because I'm sure they don't. And if they did, I'm sure we will hear about that in the community anyways. Does that make sense? So I guess my hope is for all of us to stop taking third-hand information as good information. If you really want to learn more about how somebody approaches things, sit down with them and actually talk to them about it, as opposed to kind of creating this story in our mind about them. And even if you can't do that, even if you find yourself creating these stories about other birth workers, whether it's a doula or a midwife or an apprentice midwife, whatever, if you can't resist creating that story for yourself, please just don't share it with other people. I think that's generally a really good rule in life, but comes up a lot in the world of midwifery. I know back years ago, we had somebody who said something like, "Oh, well, I heard from moms in the community this really vague thing. It wasn't anything even specific." And when you question somebody further, usually they quickly realize that their information is based on nothing as well. I just really wish that we could all come to a place where we respect one another's existence, right? That's a good goal. Let's respect each other's existence. And hold the space for the fact that there are different kinds of birth workers and different kinds of midwives, and we don't all have to do it the same. Just because we don't do it the same way doesn't mean we're dangerous. Someone got into like a big Facebook fight with me the other day, which I ended by just, banning them from my page, but they had posted an article that had me in it. Pretty recently, NPR did an article that I was part of, which you could go read. It's really not very good, but they posted it, and I saw the thread, and people were talking about how, just the general, myths that we've already talked about, and I'm sure we'll talk about more, that licensing protects mothers, that it keeps unsafe midwives from practicing, or it keeps midwives from doing unsafe things. And so I just, I thought nicely shared some of my perspectives on this, and she came back with just, it was this, it was her having third-hand information about births that maybe didn't go well, like she didn't really even know, she didn't really know why, bad-mouthing this person who had attended the birth, who maybe was a total lunatic, who knows, but it didn't do her any good to be trying to tell me about it half a country away. Like, that doesn't make any sense. So it's just like, it's gotten out of control. These stories, these rumors, all of it is out of control, and everyone should mind their own business. And if they really have a problem with what they think somebody's doing, I just really encourage you to sit down and actually ask them what they're up to, and bring your tangible concerns to them. And even then, I don't think that's really that useful. So anyways, that's my rant for the morning before I go work out. And if you haven't heard that song, it's really great. Brett Dennen, Darlin Do Not Fear, if you need a nice way to start your Saturday morning.